We are live. I've got Neville Wright. Neville, I'm going to play you a song, sir. Thank you so much for coming on my show. This song's for you. So, Neville Wright, why did you choose that song, sir?
Well, in my book, I say, don't go to your grave with your songs left in you. So this song Saved My Life is really a metaphor for anything you know, anything you've done in life, and anything you can help people with. Don't keep it a secret, because you hear so many people say, I'm not telling them this, I'm not telling them that. Why should I? But I believe as you get older, you want the next generation or anybody that wants to listen to you, you want to tell them things that can help them. And the song that really saved my life was 29 years ago this month. And it was, I was on a building site, tears was coming out of my eyes. I was washing mud off with lorries, before they go onto the road. And I was preparing myself to commit suicide that night. And I'd had 22 years of pain, and it was excruciating. And unbeknown to me, Marilyn walked onto the building site and said, Neville, you've got to come off because you're going to the hospital and I've got to get there within an hour, because Marilyn had rung a consultant who had 2 years waiting list and said, look, he's desperate. She didn't know that I was going to end my life, but she said he's desperate because he's in agony. And he said, I've just had somebody cancel their next appointment in an hour, come down. Well, I went down and I didn't come out of hospital for 15 days. And that saved my life. So that's really why, it's the title more than anything. But I do like the song as well.
No, it's a great song. And thank you for introducing it to me, because I didn't know that song. So no, that's really cool. So that whole thing that you just said then is you don't want people to miss out. And so you've written a book, and in that book is everything that you've done over the last God knows how many years. And what an amazing story.
Thank you.
That was really, really, really entertaining. Some really sad moments, some amazing moments, some funny moments. And my goodness, you really are a character.
I do say to people when they say, is it worth buying? I say, if you don't laugh and you don't cry, I'll give you money back. But all the money goes to charity anyway. So...
So maybe James Twigger is a friend of mine. He does a podcast regularly where he reads business books. So we'll get him to read your book and do a podcast on that, because it really is a cracking book. So I've got a few questions about you for you. It's supposed to be 50 minutes. Are you all right to run over a little bit, because your story is huge. Your story.
My next appointment is at 2:30, so that's
fine. guys watching, we won't go on that long, but we could do so easily. So you do a little bit on LinkedIn. So tell us a little bit about what you do on LinkedIn and how that works for you, because you said that you do get some business from LinkedIn.
I do, yes. I put a blog out every week, and it usually goes on all the social media, and it goes on LinkedIn. And I go on that every day, for a few minutes, really. and people contact me. But that's as far as it goes. I'm not really good at it, and I'd like to know a lot more, because I don't know which buttons to press. You know, whether I'm kissing somebody or clapping them, or whether
It's never stopped me, Neville. It's never stopped me. But this makes me laugh, really, because this is coming from a guy that you started the internet, right? So I'm listening to your book, and basically where you were with kiddie care, you just totally turned it all around, and because of the internet, and at the same time Jeff Bezos was doing stuff, and your competitors were going, the internet's not going to last, and you reinvented the wheel. So to think that you don't really get LinkedIn is absolutely hilarious, because what you did with the internet is incredible.
Well, my business was to think of what's happening, the next step. So 5 years before we started, which was we started in 1999 on the internet, the website. But 5 years before that, I'd said, do you know this thing called the internet? I said to the kids, and Marilyn, do you know this thing called the internet? I reckon that in 5 years' time, the kids will be buying this, prams off the internet. And of course, it was pie in the sky. It was crazy. But then 3 years later, we started to build the website. And then after 1999, Christmas Day, it opened 1999, and we sold a pushchair. Wow, and then over the next year, we made every mistake in the book, and we was going to close it down, but we didn't, because I said, give me 7 days to turn it around, and if I don't turn it around, we'll shut it down. And within 24 hours, it was a completely different thing. We turned it around, and within a week was making a profit instead of a loss. We had 80% of our stock coming back in those days, because manufacturers didn't pack it properly, and we just sent it out, and the carriers weren't like the carriers now. And when a cot goes through 8 processes to get from us to the customer, it's smashed to smithereens. But of course, no more, because we sorted that out. So as we was the pioneers of the nursery industry to get things packaged properly, and to go ahead and become the biggest online retailer in the country.
That was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah. So you don't have to know things. What you have to do is to get the right people who do know that, so you can think of what you want, what the customer wants, and relay it to them, and they can put it into, they can do it for you.
Yeah.
You need people. You need somebody to think of the outcome, and somebody to actually do the work, like to make.
Yeah, and that's the thing that comes through your book, is you've surrounded yourself with some incredible people. I literally just met the amazing Marilyn, and so that's the first thing, isn't it? Is having someone behind you who believes in you, and which is amazing. But then you brought your daughters into it, and consequently their husbands and stuff like that, and so it's you're the conductor, aren't you? You're conducting the orchestra, and I guess sometimes I go, oh, what's he up to now? But it comes good in the end, doesn't it?
I used to go out and come back into the office. This was in the 80s, and there was like 3 girls in the office, and I'd open the door with a smile on my face, and they'd go, "What shit have you brought us today?" And that was like, because I would have the ideas, I would go out and I would do the the deals and things, and then I'd put it on their desks to do all the paperwork and to do all the contracts and everything. So it was easy for me.
Yeah, but that's it, you see. And I've done a lot of voluntary work in my time, and I've always gone for the role of the chairman of the voluntary organization, because you don't actually have to do anything. You just conduct everybody. And that's all anybody wants, isn't it?
Yeah. I did a bit more than that.
I've got a question from one of the viewers here. So from Jonathan, health and safety has really affected your industry over the course of your journey. What are your thoughts on dealing with this, please?
Health and safety?
Yeah.
I was fanatical, absolutely fanatical about health and safety. So if you come into work in kiddie care and you was in the warehouse, if you didn't have toe caps on, safety toe caps, if you didn't have the right clothes, you didn't get in. So high vest, hard hat, toe detectors, and everybody who was on the shop floor who had to go into the warehouse for any reason, they had a high vis and they had toe caps. And it was because there was a lot of pallets, and the pallets were 1 or 2 tons. Put that down on your foot, you'd have no foot. So
absolutely.
We was fanatical about it. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of people say, well, I say in my book about mountains of red tape. Wear your hard hat because red tape's going to come down on you and destroy it. And it can destroy it because there is a lot of stupid things. You could have so much PPE on you that you can't work because you can't move. So, there's got to be common sense. There's got to be logic. But safety is paramount. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice one. Okay, so you've written this book, right? And we all know that you sold the business in the end because it says on the front of the book. So I'm not giving anything away. But
Marilyn, have you got a book, please? I want to show Marilyn. Oh, I don't know what she said.
So
I'm dead.
I want to know what you're actually up to now because you're definitely not retired.
There. Sorry.
That's all right. You're definitely not retired. So what are you doing at the moment then, sir? Because you've written your book, and I guess that was a bit of a shock when you sold the business. But you are you're so busy. What do you do now?
Loads of investments. We've got around. Oh, that's my book. That's my book. And it's got loads of pictures in 392 pages, and it says on the front the answer is yes. Now, what is a question? That come for 3 weeks after I was in business, 1974, and anyway, so loads of investments. We've got about 8 companies, all mainly to do with the building industry. Sheds. When I say sheds, I'm talking about tin boxes, factories. We've got about £85 million worth of construction on that type of thing. And then we do renovations like old barns and some new houses. I've just sold I haven't just sold a property company. It was about 3 years ago now where we sold a property company. We built 600 houses. And then we sold the company and moved on. So we've got 150 commercial tenants that Marilyn has to look after, and I do mentoring. And so that's apart from those things. Oh, we've got a marina, and this. Apart from those things. Not a lot, really.
So if someone wants to work with you as a mentor, how do they go about doing that?
Well, I started off in 2011 when I left kiddie care, mentoring, doing public speaking and mentoring to when Zoom come along. That's only in the last 3 years, I think, mentoring 20, 30, 40 people at the same time. But mostly one-to-one, people with businesses. Usually they've got 3 or 4 businesses already, and they've probably been in business 20 years. So a lot of those clients who want to get to the next stage, want to have less confusion in their life, want to exit at some time or other, or pass it on, but it'd be making the business more valuable and things like that. So that's, and I get a lot of people saying, will you mentor me? Which you can't, because they've not really started, but you can give them a few tips and hints and tell them to read the book, because
I was just going to say, that's going to be the first tip,
Yeah.
isn't it? Read this book.
Oh my goodness, yeah, you've got so much free information there, and it goes into the psyche and reverse psychology, and it's, that book is really to stop people saying, I give up, you know. And you get so many people that would say, I was in business 20 years ago, but my partner, you know, screwed me, let me down, or somebody didn't pay the bill, or this happened or that happened. Shit happens every day in business, but you've got to get over it and you've got to get through it. And you have to have a determination and focus, and you've got to have people around you all singing from the same hymn sheet. And that book is to say, don't give up. That, you know, there's life after that trip, what you just had. You know, I do say, if you're going across the water, sooner or later you're going to trip over on the stepping stones, and you're going to get wet, and that's part of it. But that's life, you know. And I'm saying, don't give up, because it's just around. Look at 6 Up, how it failed, you know, and 5 Up. You know, they were just around the corner from 7 Up, which become probably the world's greatest selling drink.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's so easy to give up, but it's all in the mind, isn't it, Neville?
It is in the mind, because up to the age of 24, life wasn't fair. Life was a bitch. What, you know, things happened to me that happened to no one else. It just was a crap life. And then one day I turned my head around. I turned my thinking around, and I was a beggar in the morning at 10:30, begging for another £2 a week on the dole, and had an altercation with a person. And now I didn't realize why in those days, in 1974, why dole office desks were so high and so wide, because you stood at one side and the desk was up here, and it was what you couldn't jump over it, and yeah. So anyway, I had this altercation, and I told them where they could stick their dole money, and I would look after myself. And it does say on my book, it says, I told the man in the dole office that I'd verbally gripped my balls and my life, that I would look after my family myself. And I promised myself I would never go cap in hand to anyone ever again in my life. And so I was a beggar in the morning, and I started my business in the afternoon, and I become chairman of the board all in one day. And I made my first acquisition before 5 o'clock that day, and it cost me 37 pence. It was a piece of scrim for cleaning windows. Borrowed my father's ladder and went out the following day knocking on doors. What else could I do?
Absolutely. And you made your own luck, because I bet there's so you talk about when you were at a charity ball, and some person saying something about
you have read the book.
I'm in awe, Neville. I am absolutely in awe. But you do see these jokers outside these places where someone's got a flash car, and you know, and he may have turned around to you and said, "Oh, you're so lucky," but you've made your luck, haven't you? And you know, it was that day that you were in the dole office, and that guy, I can't remember how you referred to him, but if he hadn't have done that, you'd probably have had another kid straight away. Because that was the advice, wasn't it? Which was
have another child, you get another £2 a week. But the thing is, you don't. Well, I think you don't make your own luck. But what I'd say is you take your luck as it comes to you, whatever it is, whatever people think about the luck, good or bad or indifferent, whatever. But you take it as it comes. And then you fit yourself to it to take advantage of whatever situation you're in. and so therefore you don't make your own look, but you take it and you take opportunities and you see windows of opportunity. And I mean, some people, if they went home and they saw a heap of horse poo in on the rug, they would probably go crazy. But some other people would go, "Whoa, whippy, yippee! You know, somebody's bought me a horse."
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Or I can get my roses looking perfect this year.
Yeah, there is. There's always something. You know, your cup is half full or half empty. Well, I'm just appreciative of getting a cup.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. You can't see it here, but that's the name of my company. Is actually Full Cup. So
Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Stephen's come up with a question. So he's a member of the 1% Club with John Lamerton, and I actually had lunch and went to a football match with John at the weekend, and we talked about you. And Stephen asked this question because he asked it last time. Do you recommend working with members of your family?
Without my family, I wouldn't have done anything. For a start, I'm dyslexic and I've got ADHD. When you said before we started, why don't you read your own books? You know, for audio, I couldn't, because I'd be saying. I'd start reading the page and then go, "Oh, that just reminds me, I never put this in the book," you know, and I'd go off on a tangent. You know, I couldn't stick to the script. Can't do it. And
that would be so much more fun, though, Neville. That would be hilarious.
I might do it. Yeah. It'll be a book about 50 hours long.
Well, so yeah. there is a book that I listened to, and the guy who wrote the book, he's actually got somebody like interviewing him, and what this guy does, he reads the book and then he stops a little bit and goes, "Oh, what do you think of that?" And then we get all this other story coming at the back. It could be a good exercise. It's good. Really, really interesting.
Back to your question about working with a family. Right. Yes. Okay. So I was on my own, and I could just, and then people would ask me to do other jobs, the answer is always yes. I would do any job that I could. So then I needed Marilyn to drive the truck. So she hadn't got a driving license, but she wanted security. She wanted money. She wanted the things. So she had these wants and needs and hopes and dreams, and I wanted to fulfill them for her and help her, because she was helping me with my dyslexia and stuff like that. And so that she had to drive the truck, and then of course we were working together. So in that way, and then she had a typewriter in the back of the truck so she could write the invoice out, you know, because it looked better on a typewriter than it did scribbling it. We would do a job and she would type the invoice out. And so working with her, we wanted the same things. We had the same goals, the same ambitions. We needed to have money. We needed to have security, and we needed to have money while we slept. You know, we wanted investments to bring us money in. And we're talking about 1974, you know, so there was, it was a long time ago, this was. So, and then when the children come along, you couldn't leave them at home because we'd got a shop and we'd got a building business. So they had to come with us. And I was awful, because I used to take the kids to school, but I used to go a different way every day, looking for sale signs and things like that and see what's going on. And I didn't really get them to school on time. And so therefore, at the age of 10, there was working in the shops, and by 13, they'd left school. So because they didn't want to be at school with a load of kids messing about, they wanted to be in business, and they are in business now. They've got some fantastic businesses they have, but we had the pleasure of working with them for like 34 years, and that was the best time ever. So to the question, what's it like working with family? For me, it was absolutely great. I'm talking about the immediate family, and I still work with the immediate family now on the building projects.
Brilliant.
So it's it is what you make it as well.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
it's staying here, it's going to be the best thing in my life, then it will be. If you're going to start moaning about it, well, it's all up here. It's psychological. It is.
No, absolutely. So we've gone right off script, and goodness knows what else. So you said about your bad back, right? And in the book, you were saying that you had a Porsche 911 at the time.
I did.
And you had a bad back, and it took you 10 minutes to get in.
Oh, it was awful. I had that car for 18 months, and 9 months of that 18 was in the factory being mended because it was dreadful. But it was it was a lovely car to look at, but the clutch was so hard, and it really, I had a bad back for 20 odd years, but it really did my back in. So in 1993, 29 years ago, I got rid of it, and but it was a really superb looking car.
Yeah. So I had a ride in a 911 Turbo when I was 10 years old, and it's just my favorite car. So out of all the cars that you've had, and so the truck that Marilyn drove is now a classic VW camper, isn't it?
It's worth 30,000, 35,000. We haven't got it. It was an old milk float, a VW milk float. So it had the cover over the top, which we used to put the ladders on the top and all the building materials inside. Yeah, I wish I'd have kept that. I sold it for £500.
Hilarious. But that's what you paid for it, so that's not too bad.
So the 911 was the best looking car. I've had 12 Range Rovers, and they were the most comfortable cars. I've had 3 Bentleys, which were from the 80s going up to the last one we had was last year, which was a soft top, and they're nice cars to ride in, but I don't feel right in one, so that's why I haven't got one.
Is that because of the van incident?
Well, yeah. I think I had a Ferrari. I don't know whether it's a 954 or a 945. I don't know. This was 3 or 4 years ago, just before they bought the 944 out. Anyway, that was a fast car. It was too fast for me. It was the first day I spun it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, but, after that, I love driving my motorhome, which is, you can't see it because the blinds are down, but it's quite a big motorhome. And then there's my white van, which I've got quite a big white van, which I should be going to Norfolk in tonight because I've got a whole load of building materials. I'm building a gym in Norfolk, and I've got a 40-foot lorry load of building materials being unloaded at one of our yards at the moment, but I'm going down there. You see, I've got a choice. Do I go in one of the cars tonight, or why waste valuable time? I'll go in my van and load it up. So I'm happy with that. You see, you get over these things because when you're young, you want this, you want that, and you try them all, but it doesn't mean anything. It means something at the time. It gets you out of bed and gets you motivated. But once you've had it, it's like, I like the van.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a great question here from Richie. Is there an example of where technology has significantly impacted your business for better or worse over the years?
Impacted the business for better or worse? Yeah. Well, I think they're doing technology now for the worst, really. So that's not affected me at the moment. But for better, yes. So I wanted to sell prams. And I wanted to sell the next pram in England that was going to be sold, because I started off in Peterborough and I only wanted to sell the next pram that was going to be sold in Peterborough, and then half an hour radius, then an hour. And then I'd got to a point of I wanted to serve all of the people in England. So that technology was absolutely great. apart from when we started, people used to send the prams back and say, I didn't order a blue one, I ordered a green one. And you go, well, you got a green one. And they said, no. Anyway, what was on our website was one color, and what was on their computer was a different color in those days.
No.
So so that soon taught me, when you get one back and you've got to you got to pay for the carriage both ways, that taught me to put the colors on the website, and it's things like that. Every setback, it teaches you that you're doing something wrong. Even if it's not wrong yourself, you are wrong because the customer said so. So the customer said, on my screen, it was blue, and you've advertised this pram and it's come green. And go, well, we're selling green ones, but we hadn't put it on the website. So it's a learning process every minute of every day. And I say in the book, when you're going into your business in the morning, say you're going in at 8 o'clock, you're coming into that business and you know what it's like. And by 8 o'clock at night, when you're coming out of that business, it should have changed a little bit. Because if it hasn't changed either in your mind or physically, whatever, if it hasn't changed a tiny bit, somebody else's business has changed and they're taking business from you. And you don't even know who it is until one day when you're closing your business and you're seeing this business that's down the street flourishing. So I don't know what the question was, but
it was all about technology.
Rambling.
You said that they're doing technology today and it's not so good. So what's your take on that then, Neville?
Well, I don't want to be linked up to with a chip in me to 5G or whatever.
Right, okay.
And I don't want a stamp on there.
I think
me of 80 years ago.
Yeah. I think we're all right, but it's our grandchildren probably will have that sort of stuff, won't they?
Yeah, I think people have got to be cautious because life can be so good, and I think technology can go too far. But I would say that because of my age, but I'm not really concerned. I'm concerned for the younger people. Yeah, absolutely. So technology is good, but you see, technology, unfortunately, it's made it so loads of people can work at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the long run, is that good? Not getting out, not meeting people, not going to the office, not going to the shop, whatever. Is that good? Having everything delivered here, seeing the same four walls, and I don't think it is good. So in that way, that side of technology enables you to do things, work all over the world, which is probably good if you're going to go over the world. But if you've got kids and you've got to be in your house, do you want to be in your house all that time? And you talk about health and safety. As all these people got their, did they take their chairs when they left the office? We've got offices where I have 350 people in. Did they all take their chair home, or are they curled up on their couch with now got a bad back after 3 years?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be very careful sending my people home without doing a risk assessment of their house.
Got a lovely message here from Lynn Hutchinson. Thanks for the event. Neville and Marilyn, a true inspiration of a couple to look up for all the right reasons. They're grounded and real once again. Thank you. So yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Lynn.
And then Reese wants to know that it's recorded. So yes, it definitely is recorded. Don't you worry. And then we got this is so funny. So this is Paul, right? So have you ever taken your Range Rovers off road and done one of these Land Rover training courses things?
No, because when people said about it, I've got too much to do, but going over building sites. It's good enough. It was good enough. But yeah, I understand there's Range Rover courses around here, but I've always had something more to do. Yeah. I did go on one racing day where you go in 3 different cars. Now out the 40 of us that went, I was the only one with the Ferrari. So there was this Ferrari there with 40 other cars. Yeah. Who came last? The Ferrari driver.
And that,
yes.
So, and again, I guess driving a Ferrari is very different to driving a Range Rover. And Paul would attest to that, because he actually runs a driving experience down here in Devon.
Right.
So yeah, you can take your Range Rover up hills like that.
Yeah, fantastic.
We've got another one here as well. Never fails to amaze me how costly a small mistake such as color can be. And not a fan of tech such as Neuralink. So I've got a couple of business questions. So what do you think is the one mistake that most people make when running their own business?
Well, time and motion. I think you've got to. I was fanatical because I'd been through a time and motion course I had, and when you walk from one area to another, you take something if you need to go. When it's like being in the kitchen, if you're a chef. But there was like every desk, we had 40 people. We ended up with about 40 people in the offices, and everybody had their desk. And if they got up to walk to the other side of the office to pick a ruler up or a pen or stapler or whatever, the office manager used to say, well, you should have, every desk was issued with everything that person would need, everything. So they didn't have, if they wanted to get up for a chat, they're I don't know, 3 breaks or 4 breaks a day, whatever it was, or they needed to see somebody about some technical stuff, that's a different thing. But to get up and to go and say, can I have some sellotape from somebody else? No, you've got your sellotape on there. Yeah. And it's like cutting those minutes down every day. Every day you're going into micromanagement and then people realize how much more work they could get done. So time and motion is something. Now, we used to see reps once at any time at all, and then they had to book in when we got bigger. But I knew every single rep that come through that door, I'd got to make £129 extra for that hour I was seeing the rep, because that's what the business was making an hour. And I thought I should be making that even if I'm seeing a rep. So we'd do the work and then I'd get a discount. I want a £129 discount of some way or other, some stock or whatever. That was my goal for each rep in 1980.
That is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. And this is why this show's called the 15-minute show. And I know we've run over. We were going to.
Have we?
Yeah, only slightly. but when I meet with someone for the first time, it's just 15 minutes, because you can get so much done in 15 minutes if you both know you've only got 15 minutes. And what happens is we book out an hour and we waffle for an hour. Whereas if we book 15 minutes, then we know exactly what we're talking to. So that is great advice. I love that. And you get a lot of people, running a busy office, turn around and go, oh, we can't afford to give everybody a stapler. And you turned around and said, well, if we can't afford to have people wasting time because they haven't got a stapler. And that's the thing, isn't it? What can they be doing if they're not running around getting a stapler?
As soon as we could afford as soon as dishwashers came out, or when we knew about dishwashers, when we was in business, as soon as we found out we could put a dishwasher in the kitchen, we did. And people go, how can you afford a dishwasher? No, how can you afford not to have one? Yeah. You pile the dishes in, you get on with doing the quote or whatever for the next day or whatever it is, doing the paperwork, paying the bills, whatever. That dishwasher is making you money. And people think, well, it costs. No, it's making you money, because you're more valuable than washing dishes.
Absolutely.
So I tell you what, we had a restaurant and we had a roll-on, roll-off pot dishwasher, and that's one of the hardest jobs. And I made up my mind to go on there for 12 hours a day. I was often on there for a few minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, to know how hard it is for people who are doing that work. And I've done a 12-hour shift on the pot wash, I have, and that's one of the greatest, the best jobs in a restaurant, because you see what food's coming back, and you can immediately alert the chef, alert the cooks to what's going on. Why is this coming back? You see, but because it's a goal within a goal, there is all the time. And this is where time and motion comes in. You see a plate of food coming back, you want to know why that plate of food's coming back. And often I've gone out into the restaurant and said, who's left 2 pies? You know, what's wrong with them? And the person goes, oh, it's me. It's me. Why have you left 2? Well, I bought them for the children, and they only had a bite and they was full up. You know, well, that's fine. That's fine. But you know, if there's something wrong with the pie, I'd give you your money back.
Absolutely fantastic. So last question, because we all need to shoot on. Saw a Facebook video of you unwrapping an Amazon box with a ridiculous amount of packaging and then a tiny box inside, like pass the parcel. Any views on waste or climate change? Yeah,
I've still got that paper. I've got wood fires. I have, and I use that paper to light the fire, because I don't buy a newspaper anymore. I always used to have a newspaper, but 2 years ago I stopped. I used to have a newspaper every day. I stopped that. I don't, because half of it you wouldn't believe, and half of it is lies. So therefore, what's the point of having it? Yeah. So God bless Amazon for giving us the paper to light the fire.
Perfect.
A goal within a goal. Order something off Amazon.
So I haven't bought a paper in 2 years either, because it's always so depressing, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Absolutely. Neville, you have been an absolute star. Thank you so much for coming on today and having a chat with me. I thoroughly enjoyed your book. People need to read your book. It's absolutely brilliant. So there it is there for everybody to see.
Do you know why that was called? The answer is yes. Now, what is the question? 3 weeks. Gone.
I should know this, shouldn't I? Because what was happening is when you were starting your business, your window cleaning, people were asking you to do stuff, and you go, yeah, of course, and then I can't remember whether you missed something, but you just there's so many tips in that book, Neville. It's just incredible.
I was up a ladder cleaning the windows, and this woman come out. It was 3 weeks after I started this business. Woman come out and said, Neville, can you, while you're here, can you? And I say, yes, yeah, I can. And she says, I've not even asked a question yet. I say, I'll do anything you want, as long it's not illegal or immoral in my mother's eyes. So that's where the title come from.
It's a brilliant title. It's a brilliant book. I've got one last question for you, Neville. What advice, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give the 16-year-old Neville Wright?
Wow. Find a girl. Yeah. I met Marilyn when she was 15. Yeah. And so I would say treat your body like you would treat a grand national racehorse, right? You would exercise it every day. You'd give it good food every day, and you treat it with respect. So that's your body. And do the same with your mind, and educate yourself to be responsible for everything that happens in your life. I know it's a bit of a problem coming up in the next few years with other people domineering our lives, but that's what I would say. Do the same with your mind. Educate yourself every day. Educate yourself and be responsible. I am responsible for everything in my life. And which is a shit sometimes, but there you are. I've decided. Yeah, look in the mirror and say it's your fault.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I listen to books and listen to podcasts, because you've learned so much all the time. Neville, you've been an absolute star. Thank you so much for coming on. You've made my birthday. And thank you so much. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Thank you to everybody for staying on so long. This is the longest 15 minutes I've ever done.
Thank you, everybody.
And thanks for all your questions. Cheerio, Neville. Bye-bye.
Bye.